Good morning, it's Kai here, and welcome to an over-pretentious explanation of how I made a 1.5 minute short film that I did as a homework. So how that came to be was we got an assignment to create 3 Dadaist artworks. Every week in art lesson we had 1 hour to do one artwork. And that week where I created the short film Flame, as soon as we started the assignment, I thought I'd make a painting or graphic. I went to the basement to look for black spray paint, which we didn't seem to have. But when I left the room in the basement where we have that sort of stuff, I looked back into it and I saw someone standing there. I didn't actually see that, I'm not hallucinating. I mean, that's my mind fabricated this image. I thought of that shot. So that was it. I went back to my room and looked at what I could wear for that shot. And when I found that black coat, at first I thought it's good, but then I remembered already having a character with that as a main feature. But I went on anyway with sort of the mindset that this might be a prequel to that short film, the backstory for that character maybe. That's how I connected it to Lemniscus, which was a short film for the Pictorius. It's this video, I'll link it somewhere. The first shot I recorded was this shot of the character named Jan waking up, and this shot right here of the character walking down the stairs might be my favorite shot of the short, just because of the camera angle I managed to get here. Me waking up was the first shot I filmed and the only one that I filmed in forwards motion, because for all the following shots of me walking to the basement, I performed the action backwards and then reversed the clips afterwards. Now, the effect that's achieved by performing the action backwards and then playing it in reverse in editing is that everything sort of feels off. The most noticeable change will probably be the sound, because you don't have the sound hitting and then fading out. You have that reversed. The sound creeps itself in and then abruptly stops when it actually happens. And then visually it's not that different, other than the motion is kind of wonky. It looks kind of weird when someone walks or moves. And then especially when there's interaction with the environment. It's little details like this curtain shot. In reverse, it makes the curtain move before I even touch it. And it's just small things like that that make the whole feel like something's wrong, like there's something going on. At first I didn't think I'd put the curtain in, but I left it in specifically because it looks kind of weird and out of place. I also like the association with curtains, that they like the reveal of things. I'll have a little clip of David Lynch talking about that, because I think he has some interesting views on that.
There's a thing about curtains. You have a chance to go into another world. I like curtains. Curtains, I always say, they hide something, and they can open and let us into another world. Magical. Curtains are magical. And if the things that you see are specific, they indicate a bigger world.
And what the curtain in this world hides is what Jan is about to see, the dark version of himself. When I filmed this, I put all the things on, but I wanted to change the costume from Lemniscus, where it first appeared, the character. I wanted it to be more human, more kind of an in-between between this version of him and the later version of him. So I left the mask so you could see his face, and I also gave him a shirt and buttoned it up all the way to the top, which gives sort of a sophisticated feel, more civilized than the more demonic brute force version we would see later. So I set up the camera angle and stood there, moving just a little bit. For this wide shot I layered 2 of them over one another, and then in this close-up of my face, the sentence I say, it's not something where I know particularly what it means, but that's not the point. I kind of just, I thought it would fit the feel and I think it should give an indicator of what I saw in this. When I recorded this in the basement, I just said the sentence a few times and then layered that on top of each other 3 times, and that would sound like this. But I didn't want to leave it at that. Still leave the original tracks there, but dub another line over it, which I said backwards and then played backwards again like the footage, so it would actually be spoken the right way. And that sounded like this. In this original one, I said, ich weiß nicht mehr, wer ich bin, which I sent to my art teacher in that lesson. I shot and edited the entire thing in that hour. Because I rarely upload, I thought it would be cool to put this on my YouTube channel. But there were still some things I felt that needed tweaking before I could feel like I had finished this. I'll have a chart with the differences between the cuts right here, and you can see that the only difference between my revised version and the final cut is that I dubbed over the language and changed it to English, so we're just gonna ignore that middle thing and look at the differences overall. So that opening shot I talked about earlier, I recorded it with my phone, and because I used like the inside camera, the phone automatically flipped the image, which landed like that in the original version. I mirrored that back, swapped it around to the correct version, not too big of a change. Like I said, the language, which only basically affects this one main sentence here, but then at the ending I changed some stuff to kind of fit the less Dadaist and more structured idea that this might be a prequel. So the Dadaist, kind of not planned with a meaning version, had a reaction shot to the dark version of Jan from himself. I cut that out for the final version to give sort of a more ambiguous feel, because after we cut to the dark version, we don't see a normal human in that short film again, and I felt like cutting back to his reaction, showing that he is perfectly fine, kind of gives a safe feeling to the audience, with which I felt that showing this shadow shot was way more effective. And then I changed another shot, or cut it out rather. In the original version, after the flame comes up again, I repeat the waking up shot. I cut that because I didn't like the implication that all of it was just a dream, and ending on that more vague, ambiguous note kind of left a more dark feeling than showing, oh, it was just a dream, he's really safe. So that was the thought behind those differences in editing, which aren't a lot, but kind of changed the feel of the whole thing. Half the people are gonna say that the prequel that I made up on the spot to a short film that we made up on the spot doesn't make any sense, and the other half are probably gonna say that it is too thought out to still be Dadaist. And to the latter, I say that I really didn't think about what I was doing until after the fact, where I kind of pushed it into this direction. And to the former, yeah, no, it doesn't. Deal with it. I have a clip of David Lynch here again. Enjoy.
You can explain something about the blue box, because some people don't really understand it.
No, I won't explain it. I won't explain it. But I think it's going to be a different explanation for, different people.
How do you respond to the idea that, it doesn't make sense, or, people don't understand? Like, what do you think about that, and what would you say to other people who maybe like making things that other people don't think make sense?
I like a story that's got some concrete, structure, but also holds abstractions. Life is filled with abstractions. People get used to a film that pretty much explains itself 100%.
The movies aren't fragments. No, the clues are there, and I love mysteries like a book, but I don't like it when it ends and everything is sewn up 100%.
I mean, he had the idea for the Red Room, and it was just an image, and he says he couldn't sleep that night. He was so excited by the image. And I think for him it's a matter of how to get that image into the film rather than the other way around. Most narrative filmmakers begin with a story and then try to figure out how to illustrate the story. I think he begins with an image.
These pictures and sounds flowing along together in time in a sequence, making a thing that can only really be said in cinema. It's not words, it's not just music, it's a whole bunch of things coming together and making a thing that didn't exist before. it's up to the people then, to, find their own, interpretation. It doesn't really matter what I think.
Lynch, you don't like doing interviews, do you?
No, I don't.
How, at the end of Blue Velvet, is Jeffrey different?
Well, we don't know. That's the thing about the film. It starts and then it ends.
If you're asking the narrative question with David Lynch, or what does this mean, or what was that story about, I often say maybe that's the wrong question to ask. Maybe you should go back to the Dadaist kind of appreciation of the image as image, and ask those questions first. And it seems that you're going to get, it seems to me you're going to get a lot more out of Lynch if you appreciate the image and the primacy of the image.
You just feel it and think it. That's kind of intuition, emotion, and thinking together, and come up, make it have a sense to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So yeah, that should be it. Thank you for watching this this far into the video. Most people don't even watch this far. Yeah, I hope I'll get my ass up and do some more content in the future. Look out for some more short films and videos similar to this one about those. And I've got some other fun content planned. So till then, don't forget to subscribe so you'll be notified. Toodaloo! Bye. I am fucking end card here now. End. Bye.
Mein Mutter ist ein Doktor, mein Vater ist ein Krankenschwester. Mein Mutter ist ein Doktor.